Hey everybody, this is George Brasher with Shakedown of Thunder Sports, and you're about to watch the two Irish brothers. Go Irish.
How's it going, everyone? This is ND Sean 45, and you are watching the Two Irish Brothers show. Now, first off, before we go any further with anything here, you see that subscribe tab down in the corner? Make sure and hit it right now. That way, you guys will get everything from Ben and I, new videos, new whatever, even special videos like this one. So hit that subscribe tab. Let's keep the momentum for this channel going. So, with that said, unfortunately, Ben could not be here for this video because he had other things that he had to tend to. But I have a very special co-host joining me for this episode. He's been a good friend of mine pretty much ever since I started YouTube. He is a devout Georgia Bulldogs fan. Please welcome my good buddy Magnum. Magnum, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, and literally since we both started YouTube, I was in 2009. That's how long we've known each other. So yeah, a long ass time.
And this will be your second appearance on our show here, so it's great to have you back.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I know I don't too much do TTC videos anymore, so I enjoy doing these little guest appearances every once in a while. You know, kind of brings back memories. It's all fun.
Yeah, and that's what makes it special when it is a guest appearance. So, what more can you say about that? You know, but anyway, Magnum. Before we get started, obviously, as everybody can tell from the title to this video, it's going to be about the Big 12 Conference, and I know you have a lot of feelings about the Big 12 Conference. So, if you want to get it out of your system right now, go ahead and tell us how you really feel about the Big 12.
Yeah, and just to let y'all know, when Sean contacted me, wanted me to do this show, he told me what it was going to be about, and the first thing I said, I was like, "Okay, you do realize my thoughts and opinions on that shit conference, right?" So, I mean, Sean was aware of it, and he knew what was going to happen. But yeah, you know, my thoughts on the conference is, well, first of all, it was already garbage, and now that Oklahoma and Texas are going to be coming to the SEC, I mean, they're losing their two biggest, heavy hitters. And what do? Oh my God, they bring in something called Cincinnati, BYU, Central Florida, and Houston. I mean, what do they think that's really going to replace Texas and Oklahoma? I mean, that conference might as well it just disband. You know, all the other conferences should create one super conference to be able to compete with the SEC. And even then, that's not going to happen. But yeah, fuck the Big 12.
Well, why don't you tell us how you really feel there, buddy?
I'm just saying, man. I'm tired. I'm just tired of hearing about Oklahoma this and Texas that. I mean, granted, this was 4 years ago now, but you know, when we played Oklahoma, we beat them. So I don't care about the Big 12. And I know when we played Texas in that bowl game, we ended up losing. But and anybody that knows college football knows that was not the same Georgia team that showed up in that bowl game. You know, after we lost to Alabama in that SEC title game, it was like we had the playoff spot on the line. We were completely demoralized, and we looked nothing like we did when we played Alabama. I mean, we didn't even look like the same team. We did not want to be there. But now that they're coming to the SEC, you know, they're gonna be on the regular season schedule in the not too distant future, and you know, we're gonna kick the shit out of them, plain and simple.
Well, Magnum, look, despite your feelings about the Big 12, at the same time, you are a reasonable man when it comes to talking football in general, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on as a guest host, filling in for Ben. Because Ben told me that I could go solo on this video, but I really didn't want to, because I wanted to have this be a discussion, not just be me sitting here and discussing the obvious. So, with that said, let's get right into it. I mean, obviously, you stated it before I could even get to it. It became official today. The Big 12 has officially invited Cincinnati, Central Florida, Brigham Young, and Houston to join the Big 12. And after all this, what's been like a roller coaster of, I don't know what expansion questions. Who knows? I mean, take your pick on what you want to call it. It's been crazy. Ever since Texas and Oklahoma announced they were leaving for the SEC, nobody knew for sure what was going to happen with the Big 12, if they would disband, if they would try to add more teams in. Well, it seems like we now officially have our answer. The Big 12 is going to do everything they can to try and stick around. And they made that clear with what they did today. Now, I'll tell you one thing. I've been watching actually, Magnum, do you know Golden Blue Dude, the West Virginia fan?
I don't think so, but I mean, there again, I don't really get on YouTube much, and there's I can count on one hand how many people I still watch from the TTC. So I mean, yeah, I don't know who that is.
Okay, gotcha. Well, he's a West Virginia fan, and he actually has a pretty big channel that's on the rise. It's growing, and Ben and I actually had him on the show not too long ago. But I bring him up because in several videos that he's done recently, he has said that he has some pretty strong connections to West Virginia, and it sounds like that West Virginia is going to be on the move to the ACC. It's just a matter of when. And
oh, good, just another team to bury Miami. I'm sorry. It's just Miami's just never won the ACC, and they probably never will. So
I know
I'm just talking shit.
I gotcha. No, it's cool. It's cool. No, it's crazy when you bring that up, that Miami's never won that conference. It's hard to fathom when you think about it. But look, anyway, so I bring that up because I believe him on that. I believe him. He's never said who his connections are, but I do believe it when he says that West Virginia is on its way to the ACC, just a matter of when. So you have these 4 teams that the Big 12 officially invited today. And it sounds like, and of course, we all know that things can always change in college football, especially when it comes to expansion. But these 4 teams, as it stands right now, they're looking to join officially in 2023, I believe. And so with West Virginia leaving, whenever that becomes official, they might very well add a 5th team. Who knows? But I guess to start, Magnum, I guess you did kind of make it clear how you felt about these 4 teams joining, but in a serious manner.
Well, you know what? Let me go back and let me correct something, because I mean, I did kind of trash all these new schools that were coming in, but I want to get I do want to say that I was kind of wrong about Cincinnati last year, because I mean we ended up playing them in the bowl game, and we ended up having to kick a field goal, to win. I mean, we beat them, but they played us really good. And right now, I mean, I think I think that the expectations for them this year is just as high. I think that they're expected to do a little something. So I mean, I can't trash Cincinnati too much, because they did play us pretty good.
Yeah, they did push you guys to the limits, and they're going to be coming to South Bend here in a few weeks. So going to be a pretty big matchup there. But I guess one thing that I wanted to ask you is, with the 4 teams that the Big 12 did officially invite today, do you think that helps the conference, or do you think it weakens it? And I'm talking as if Texas and Oklahoma are already gone.
Well, I mean, I would definitely say it helps, but I mean, does it help to the point where the conference is going to be? How can I put this? Does it help to where the conference is going to be a beast, or one of the best? No. When you lose Texas and Oklahoma, there is no replacing that. So they're not going to be looked at, I don't think, as respectable as they were when they had Texas and Oklahoma. Now, I mean, Cincinnati, I mean, they're not a terrible football team. I mean, I mentioned them. They're pretty legit. It's just now the strength of schedule, without any of those teams having to play in Oklahoma or Texas, the strength of schedule up there, it's not going to be that great. I mean, you're talking one loss might eliminate you from playoff competition in the Big 12, period. I don't give a shit. And Clemson may be in that same boat this year because the only ranked team that they had on their schedule was us, and they lost. They have, as of right now, no team on Clemson's schedule is ranked the rest of the season. Now, one of the teams could eventually sneak up and get in there. Who knows? But Clemson's strength of schedule is pretty garbage. So unless one of these other teams somehow gets ranked or something, that one loss, it may have already doomed them. And I think that's going to be the same thing with the Big 12. There's just not going to be those marquee names, you know?
Well, without a doubt. I mean, there's no question that the ACC is not as strong now as it once was. And, you know, I think every conference goes through that at one point. I mean, even the SEC had, maybe not as a whole, but it had teams that normally were good go through, you know, some struggling times at one point. It's going to happen to every program at different times. I mean, I know we've been there. I'm sure the Dogs have been there at some point. But it's just the nature of the beast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, eventually there comes a time where, you're going to have a rough year. But, you know, the ACC for the last several years, I mean, it's been Clemson and everybody else, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless you're Clemson, you're not winning that conference. You know what I'm saying? And with the Big 12, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of seasons where it's going to rotate now. I mean, because you don't have an Oklahoma or Texas that are going to be winning it every year, you know? So I can definitely see perhaps maybe Cincinnati winning it one year, and then the following year, I mean, who fucking knows who else would win it? I don't see the kind of domination that Oklahoma had on that conference. Like I just don't see that happening anymore now that they're gone. I just think it's going to be a changing of the guard like every year.
All right. Well, before we go any further with this discussion, and I have another big question coming up for you next, but before we do that, let's take a quick break and hear this message from our sponsor.
Hey, dog, for 99 cents, I got a big double cheeseburger at Hardee's. Double beef, double cheese, double delicious.
You gonna share? Why not?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Luther, Coach wants you.
Hardee's 99-cent big double cheeseburger. Double delicious.
Sorry, it's Tuesday.
And for breakfast, try our 99-cent bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit.
Really, dude?
Those are the days, weren't it? Those were the days. Come on, you know it. Classic.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the moment I saw it, I was just like, wow, seriously?
Well,
I knew exactly what it was.
That one was one of my favorites, definitely. But hey, you know, Ben and I, we're working hard at the show. We're trying to build it up. And hey, if we could ever really get a sponsor one day, that'd be awesome. But anyway, getting back to this conversation, which so far I think has been pretty good. But with Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12, do you think that the Big 12 without them, do you think it could risk losing its Power 5 status?
No, I don't see them losing Power 5 status. I mean, you still got. I mean, of course, you're not going to have Texas, Oklahoma, but I mean, you still got pretty good teams. You know, I mean, there's no way that they're going to lose Power 5 status. I mean, they don't have shit like. Well, I'm not going to say they don't have, but they don't have as many as like for example, what is it, the Mountain West or whatever. They just don't have those kind of shit teams like up and down the board. You know, I mean, you know, how can I put this? They still have enough to where, I mean, they're still going to be. Yeah, they're not losing their Power 5 status. I mean, for God's sake, if they have a team that goes undefeated, I mean, they're still going to be looked at as like a contender to go to the playoffs. If you who gives a shit? Like if it's Cincinnati or I mean, it's not going to happen or whatever. But Nebraska, for God's sakes, I mean, it's not. You don't go undefeated and not get a playoff spot. You know what I'm saying? There's still if there's somebody that goes undefeated in the Big 12, they're going to get a playoff spot. And teams that they're not Power 5, if you go undefeated, it's not guaranteed that you get a playoff spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And plus, if the playoffs ever do expand to 12, like what they're talking about, then I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but there's less 12 pressure
too
in that
much.
case.
I think 12 is too much. I think 8 is perfect. Like an 18 playoff is perfect. 12 is a little much.
Yeah. You might have a point on that. I guess we'll just see what happens when we get to that, when we get to that bridge. I mean, obviously we're not there yet, but no, 8 could be good. I think they're just wanting to go with 12 to shut everybody up who's been complaining, but that's another topic for another day. But I guess one thing too that we're not thinking about here, but when West Virginia does eventually part for the ACC, they're going to have to go for a 5th team. And where do you think they would go in that situation to try to get it back to a 12-team conference?
Damn, man, that's a good question. But nowadays, I mean, obviously, geography doesn't mean a damn thing anymore.
No.
I mean, they could pretty much go anywhere. Fuck, dude. I mean, for example, I mean, they could always bring in Boise. You know what I'm saying? They could do something like that.
You just read my mind, dude. I think Boise would be a perfect fit for that conference to round it out and get it back to 12.
Well, yeah. I mean, why not? Bring the best team over the last decade from that conference over. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I mean, geographically, who gives a shit anymore, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And honestly, what I think is what really, in my opinion anyway, what really saved the Big 12 conference and, it staying together and not disband was the fact that the Pac-12 announced that they weren't going to be expanding. Because I honestly think if the Big 12 decided to expand, they were going to poach some teams from that conference, like maybe I don't know, maybe a Texas Tech, an Oklahoma State, whoever. And then there was talk that you could possibly see Kansas and Iowa State head to the Big 10, and then the rest of all the leftovers, your TCU and your Baylor and so on, possibly go to the American Conference. Well, obviously we got our answer that that's not happening. And speaking of the American, since the Big 12 essentially rated that conference today, who are some, that's going to leave, I believe 8 teams left in that conference. Now, I've been thinking about this all day, actually. When it comes time for the American Conference to start doing their poaching, what do you think they're going to do as far as like do you think there's a particular conference that they're looking at, or do you think they would just kind of poach all over, like maybe take from the Sun Belt, take from Mountain West, Conference USA, or do you think there's going to be one conference that they zone in on to replace what they lost?
No, that would be something I think that they would kind of spread out. They wouldn't focus on just one conference. So I think that they would look at multiple. But shit, dude, I mean, for all we know, if they lose all those teams like that, I mean, who's to say the American Conference wouldn't fold? I mean, for fuck's sake, I mean, the Big East folded back in the day, and of course, Miami ended up going to the ACC. I mean, at this day and age in college football, with all the expansion, all these teams going everywhere, conferences like that, dude. I mean, who's to say that there's not going to be a few casualties?
Well, that's true. But I can tell you one thing: if the American does decide to stick around at that point, I could see this being an opportunity for a team like the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, maybe I don't know, maybe a Mountain West team might want to go there. Maybe they bring in another another independent. So I guess there's a lot of there'd be a lot of options, but you're right. That conference could easily fold. But one of the articles that I was reading today about this, I forget which one it was. They had the American Conference focusing specifically on going to the Mountain West and trying to poach a lot of teams from that conference. Like they mentioned going after Boise, they mentioned going after Air Force, and they even had them going into the independent pool and bringing in Army. So, but let's just say let's just say that the American does stick around and they go after teams. Is there any particular teams that you could see leaving their conferences and going to the American?
Oh God, man, we're asking the difficult ask questions. You're trying to make me look into a crystal ball here.
Well, it's just a hypothetical. You can use your imagination, dude.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all we can really do is speculate anyway. Oh, I guess if I had to, I guess, choose one team that would make sense, but I don't know. But I mean, believe it or not, man, honestly, I could see maybe them going after UAB, the Blazers.
Yeah.
It's something like that. I don't see them poaching any like big name school for that kind of conference. I mean, I just even though that they've been down for so long, I mean, they wouldn't even be able to get the likes of Nebraska. I mean, they're not going to get that kind of name.
No.
But something like a UAB, I can see something like that.
Yeah, there's no way in hell they're getting like a major name in college football. I mean, Nebraska's been down, but there's still a name.
My point. Yeah,
name.
there's still a name.
But I think you're right. I could see them doing the same thing. I mean, I said the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and the way that they're playing and the impact that they made on college football, that would be their opportunity to get out of the Sun Belt and go to the American, which I do think the American is a better conference than the Sun Belt.
Well, I mean, yeah, and also, I mean, they could go after somebody like Troy. Troy could be one of those teams they could go after.
Yeah, and I heard somebody earlier today say possibly UTEP.
Oh, yeah, that's possible.
So, I mean, it's just the possibilities are endless at this point. And now I really want to make things interesting. So, like I said, the article that I read today, one of them said that they would poach pretty much a good chunk of the Mountain West Conference. And I've been talking with Ben about this in several videos that we've done, just on random topics like this. Do you think, well, I guess I shouldn't ask you, do you think, but what would you think if I told you that I think that this could be the opportunity for teams like for teams in the FCS to move up, like a North Dakota State or an Illinois State, a couple of FCS powerhouses that have been, and in particular North Dakota State, who is on a pretty good streak of beating FBS opponents.
So you're thinking like maybe if one of these conferences go poaching some FCS teams like that?
Yeah, do you think let's say the American poaches a bunch of teams from the Mountain West. In my opinion, I think that could be a good opportunity for North Dakota State to move up into the FBS level, and the Mountain West would be perfect for them geographically.
That would be a good opportunity. The only question is, I mean, since they're having all of that kind of success, would they do it? Because I mean, I don't know. Let me try to put myself in that position. Okay, I'm dominating the FCS level. I have a choice. I could move up, but at the same time, I would know that I'm not going to have that same kind of success because I'm moving up in competition. So I guess the only question is, I mean, would they be willing to give up the success they're having right now?
That's a fair point.
So I don't know. I mean, that's a damn good question. I mean, I guess money wise, if you want to make more money, I mean, it would be a good decision to move up. That's for sure. Of course, you would get to play a lot more teams. Like, maybe once a year or something like that, plays a team from the SEC, play a team from the Pac-12. It would definitely help strength the schedule. It would bring in more money. So there's positives to it, but the downside is, yeah, you're pretty much going to be guaranteed you're not going to the playoffs and you're not going to contend for any kind of championship.
Well, that's true. That's a very fair point. And plus, also with a lot of these FCS schools, and some of them have moved up and have been having success. I mean, Appalachian State moved up, and they've had some pretty moderate success. Texas State, they just recently moved up within the last few years, and they haven't been doing terrible. But you're right. I mean, when you move up to that top level of college football, you do kind of get lost in the crowd, so to speak.
Yeah, think about it. You just mentioned Appalachian State. Okay, now remember back in the late 2000s, we were hearing about App State all over the place. I mean,
after they beat
we all
Michigan.
remember the historic upset over Michigan. I mean, even though that they wasn't Division I at the time, we were hearing about them a lot. But have you noticed ever since they moved up, we just don't hear about them that much.
No.
We really don't.
No, and I think a good part of that too is not just. I mean, yeah, they're playing against tougher competition, like we were just talking about, but also they are in the Sun Belt Conference. And I'm not trying to disrespect the Sun Belt, but let's face it, it's not the strongest conference at the FBS level. It's not one that people slobber over. I mean, people slobber over the American more than they do the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I mean, and you just said it. I mean, even being in the Sun Belt Conference, yeah, you moved up. You leveled up. Let's go ahead and say you leveled up. But at the same time, we don't hear much about them because they're just not. No, of course they're not as dominant because they moved up in competition. But if you can't manhandle the Sun Belt Conference, I mean, are you really that good?
That's a good question. That's a fair point all the way around. I mean, some schools can adjust to it, some can't.
I mean, App State was dominating the FCS level back in the day. There was a time where, I mean, I can't believe they just kind of fell off the map. But, the Richmond Spiders, they've actually got an FCS national championship. I mean, at one point they were really good. I mean, so I don't know, man. If it was me, dude, honestly, if I'm having a huge amount of success at the FCS level, if I'm winning, titles, I don't care if it's FCS or not. If I'm winning, the FCS national champion, if I'm having that kind of success like South Dakota State, dude, I'm staying. I'm not moving up. I'm having so much success. I don't know I don't think I would do it.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean, it's right now at the FCS Division I level. It's basically Illinois State and the North Dakota State Bison. They've been dominating. FCS Division I. And
wait, did I say South Dakota? Did I say South Dakota?
I think you did, but I think everybody knows what we're talking about. They know we're talking about the Bison.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's all good.
Did I say South Dakota?
It's okay. Everybody knows what we're talking about here. But you're right. I mean, that's a big decision. Do you want to go up to that the top level and kind of sort of fade away for a little while, or do you want to keep standing out at the FCS level and winning national championships?
Yeah, I just think if it was left up to me, I would probably stick around, dude. Like, especially if I'm dominating it. If I'm dominating like that, dude, why the hell would I want to ruin that?
And I think a lot of it is, like you said earlier, a lot of it is chasing money too. I mean, you play at that top level, that means more money for your school. But also, I think another factor too is just I know you've seen the size of these stadiums of FCS schools. They're not very big.
No, they're not.
I think both, Illinois State and North Dakota State, the top two, in my opinion, at the FCS level, I think they only seat like 16,000 people each. So that's not a lot.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, it's not a lot, but also think about, the adjustment too, dude. Like when you move up, It's going to be an adjustment period. There's no sugarcoating that. I mean, you're dominating the FCS, but I'm telling the moment you move up and you start playing, that tougher competition, it's going to be a reality check. You're going to be losing games, and you're not going to be accustomed to doing it. So it's gonna be like a shock to the system.
Well, all I know is regardless if that scenario does play out, I'm just saying that would definitely be the opportunity for a team like North Dakota State to jump up to the FBS level. And in that case, if they join the Mountain West after, hypothetically the American poaches a good chunk of their teams, that would be a case where it makes sense geographically and well, I guess geographically and the right time to jump up to the top level. But I'm just saying the opportunity would be there. Of course, you don't have to take it.
Yeah, and see, but while we're on the subject and everything, I mean, I know last year, of course, with it being like the COVID going on, like last year, everybody played, their conference schedule, and Notre Dame was on a ACC.
Yeah.
Now, all these, conferences poaching team after team after team or whatever. Do you think that it's possible that Notre Dame would actually move to the ACC, like permanently, where they would play like a regular conference schedule year in and year out type deal? Because I know right now they've got that contract with that NBC. So I know that they don't want to right now, but with all of the shit going on with the expansion and stuff like that, I mean, do you think Notre Dame would be one of those teams that would be willing to, I guess, join a conference?
I've been asked that question a lot, and I think what it really all depends on is I think it just depends a lot on how the postseason goes, like what postseason format they end up with. Because like under the 12-team playoff proposal, it would only be conference champions who would get that first round bye, and it just depends on how bad Notre Dame would want that first round bye in that playoff scenario. So I think that would have a lot to do with it. I think a lot of it too would have to do, as you mentioned, could they still keep the NBC contract if they were to move to the ACC? But another factor too is all the rivalries that we play as well. I mean, you would have to sacrifice some, so you would have to, because you play 9 conference games in the ACC, so that leaves you 3 left over, or 3 spots to fill, and so it's like, how many rivalries do you want to keep? Do you want to keep 2 and then try to keep a slot open to play I don't know, say a team from the SEC or something like that? So it just all depends how all these scenarios play out. Like how do you want to go about this? I mean, because there's going to have to be some sacrifices that will be made as far as the schedule goes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess if Notre Dame were to make that decision, if it was left up to me, I would definitely still would want to see the Notre Dame USC rivalry. I mean, that's one that I think should definitely stick around, even though if they moved. And plus, dude, not to think about it, that I think that would really improve Notre Dame's strength of schedule as well. Because if you have non-conference games like USC and then maybe another big-time opponent, like you said, maybe from the SEC or the Big 12 or whatever, I think Notre Dame's strength of schedule, it would benefit them. Now, whether or not they can win those games, that's another topic entirely. However, I think with that kind of strength of schedule, I mean, if Notre Dame can go through a schedule like that, maybe with 1 loss, I mean, people will no longer question whether or not Notre Dame belongs. Let's put it like that.
Right. Absolutely. You make a great point there. No, I think with the way that schedule works, you have the 9 conference games. Let's say they keep 2. I think those 2 would be USC. And I think the other one, just because of, paying debt to, helping us out back in the 20s. You probably have Navy. So I'd say you probably keep USC and Navy, and then have that third non-conference game be reserved for, like you said, an SEC team, a team from the Big Ten, Pac-12, whoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just think about that. Like, that would be a pretty nasty strength of schedule, dude. I mean, because you with that kind of schedule, Notre Dame won't have any kind of FCS opponents.
No.
They'll all be. Well, I'm not going to say all. Because we know the ACC has a lot of garbage teams. However, they're above FCS level. We'll put it like that. I mean, if Notre Dame were to play, like USC, still play USC every year. Of course, still play Navy, but then you add they play teams like Clemson and Miami, Virginia Tech every year. Dude, like, that is going to be one hell of a strength of a schedule. And then, like you said, maybe one year that they decide to go to the Big Ten and let's put Ohio State on the schedule. Dude, like, that strength of schedule that's going to be hell on earth.
Yeah. And then also you look at the scenario of West Virginia joining the ACC. We reignite that rivalry, because when we won our last national championship, that's who we beat, was West Virginia. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless at this point, and it just depends on what route, athletic director Jack Swarbrick and President the Reverend Jenkins want to go. So we'll see. I mean, I'll say this. Would it change tradition? Would I be a little bummed about that? Yes. But I've always said, whether we're conference or independent, it doesn't matter. You have to win every time you step out on the field. That's what counts at the end of the day. But yeah, that's all that matters to me, is just winning and trying to get back to, to elite level.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, it don't matter. Winning is what matters. It don't matter your schedule. Don't matter the schedule, dude. You beat who is put in front of you, and that'll save you the damn headache. I mean, and there's, like I said, there's no question if Notre Dame were to move to the ACC and have that kind of strength of schedule, I guarantee. I'm not going to guarantee you everybody, because you still got your idiots. However, the people that know football, you have that kind of strength of schedule. People that know football will no longer sit there and say Notre Dame don't belong. I mean, if they can go through a schedule like it do 1 year, if they beat USC, if they go through, they beat Clemson, if they beat a Miami, Florida State, and you go into the Big Ten and you beat an Ohio State, dude, there's no question Notre Dame belongs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
No question.
Oh, you're right about that, dude. And that right there, this last, 10 minutes or the last 10 minutes or so that we've been discussing this particular topic, that just shows you how crazy conference expansion has gotten.
Dude, the conference expansion, this is getting out of hand, because now, yes, even the SEC has their shit teams. We know this. However, now that we're adding Texas and Oklahoma, of course, we don't know which one's going to be in the East or which one's going to be in the West. However, let's just we'll just use Georgia as an example. Okay, so now Georgia's going to have either Texas or Oklahoma on their schedule pretty much every year. One of them's going to be in the East, so we're going to have to play one of them.
Yeah.
So then we got, let's say, we'll say Oklahoma. So we're going to have to play Oklahoma every year. Then we've got Florida, of course. We always play two teams from the West every year, and one of them is always fucking Auburn. I hate those idiots. And then there's some years we you know how I am with Auburn. You know this from back in the day. But and then, of course, some years, Alabama's on a regular season schedule. And as of right now, they seem to be who we play mostly in the SEC title game. So, dude, the SEC schedule is just going to get more ridiculous with adding these two. I mean, there's going to be we're going to get the shit kicked out of us. No question. Physically, it's going to be a week in and week out battle, dude. Like, it doesn't matter if we win these games, dude. Going through that kind of schedule, we're going to be physically whooped, dude. Like, by the time the end of the season gets around, man, that is Damn, that's crazy to
Yeah.
think about. Look, the schedule.
It's going to be brutal. I can tell you that much. Well, look, Magnum, I didn't realize this, but we are approaching the 40-minute mark. That always
shit, really?
Yeah, that always seems to happen when you and I get into a good discussion. I thought this was just going to be a 15-minute discussion talking about the Big 12, but we definitely covered a lot more, and I'd like to think that anybody watching this right now will really enjoy this conversation and be worth watching the full 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of what we talked about is speculation. So a lot of it was kind of caught me off guard because I just, we're talking about events that could possibly happen.
Yeah,
so it's just hard to talk about that kind of stuff. Don't know.
There's just so many different paths that could happen with all of this, and you can't help but bring it up. So, yeah, I mean, the more there is to talk about, the longer the video. So I hope everybody appreciates this because I think this has been a pretty damn good discussion. And unfortunately, Ben and I get criticized all the time for like, you guys go too long. You guys go too long. Well, when it's good discussion, it's worth listening to. So, I mean, I don't know. I've enjoyed this. This has been a fun conversation, and I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot more we can talk about, but I think we've covered everything that we've had to talk about here with this particular topic. And is there anything else that you would like to add that maybe we should cover briefly?
No, I think we covered most everything, but I just want to remind your viewers here, and I know I mentioned it before we started the show. This is happy touchdown Godwin anniversary day. We all remember the catch Terry Godwin had against Notre Dame in 2017, that remarkable one-handed catch. This is the anniversary of that, so just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
You had to go there. You had to go there, you dick.
Well, hey man, it was a good game though.
It was.
That was a damn good game.
I got to add some humorous anger, if you call it that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. It is the anniversary of that, and that really was a great game. I'm not really that bitter on it, because it's not like we lost to some shit team there. It was a good game against a very talented Georgia team that year. So, but anyway, Magnum, I think this is a good place to call it. Thank you so much for coming on to be the guest host on such short notice. Just thankfully you had the day off today. That's all I can say.
Oh yeah, it worked out, man, and glad I could help. I haven't been on here and talked football in a while, so why not?
Oh, it was a good time. It was a good time. Like I said, Ben gave me his blessing to go forward with this, and I think it was a pretty good episode, pretty good discussion. I just hope everybody enjoys it, and if you really did enjoy it, hit that subscribe tab in the corner. We are almost at 300 subscribers, and I think every tier, who knows, we might do some I don't know, contests, prizes, and all that stuff, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So on that note, everyone, I am ND Sean 45, and for my good buddy Magnum, as I always say, God bless, good night, good afternoon, and go Irish. And out of respect for Magnum, go Dogs.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Everybody, peace out. Magnum, thank you again.
No problem, man.
All right. Talk to you guys later.